is Lucas. So first I'm going to introduce a challenge, kind of a global picture challenge that we are facing today as society. One of the solutions, one of the really promising approaches to that challenge that I'm talking about. Then some puzzles, so it's in practicality how we can apply the solution into very specific examples. And then what's the business case of the proposed solution, and then a little bit of the conclusive marks and the way forward, right? So what is the challenge? So sustainability is about the wave of life. You know, we live in this planet, this biosphere, very complex system, and of course we should be concerned about it when it's breaking down. The World Economic Forum in their latest global risk report gave us some clues in terms of what are those areas of risk that we are facing today. If you look in the ones in terms of livelihood, the top 5 are all environmental. And in terms of impact, 3 of them are environmental, another one is social, and the other one is more political. The thing with complex systems is that the decisions we make today, can lead us to breaking through or to breaking down. And of course, it's very important to understand when we are in between a decision window, because whatever decision we make during that decision window, it's really going to lead the system one way or the other, because we will have so much momentum that whatever we do won't really mean anything. So these are like all the risks, the 28 risks connected. So, well, you can ignore most of the graph, but it's more about showing the connection between all of those. Of course, if we fail, for example, on climate action, that's going to lead to never seeing involuntary migration. So the type of humanitarian crisis that we have because of conflict will be probably at the tenfold of that. A look at the different industrial revolutions and the impacts we have had. As you guys know, the atmosphere is this kind of layer that is on top of the planet that really allow us to have life on Earth. CO2 creates the greenhouse gas effect that allows life on Earth, actually the temperature for life to really thrive and prosper. But the more CO2 we add and the more we disbalance that, the blanket becomes thicker, and of course it becomes warmer, and I think we understand already what the consequences of that is, like ocean acidification, more wildfires, and so on and so forth. Well, this is just a little, I think, a good illustration to see about the different industrial revolutions and Industry 1.0, you know, steam power, Industry 2.0, organized labor and electricity, Industry 3.0, computers, right? So how it actually, all those industrial revolutions have created a lot of good things for humankind, like millions have been moved out of poverty and the kind of prosperous life a lot of people get to have. But also, of course, there are some areas where we have not done so well because of that. So we need to rethink the future. It has to do with disruption, so natural disasters. So just a very alarming statistic is that in 1982, when I was born, there were 200 natural disasters, per year. Today we are counting about 700, so that's nothing really natural about it. Disparity, of course, is about inequality. So at the beginning, there was a difference in terms of income of a CEO from 25 to 1 compared to the worker. And now today we even have the gaps of 300 to 1. So resource depletion, ecosystem degradation. In the last 50 years, we wiped out 2/3 of life on Earth. That's crazy. 50 years took us to do that. Digital divide. We believe that we are in a connected world, but there's still 4 billion people who have no access to internet. And discontent, unhealthy lifestyles. So yes, thousands of people will probably still die of certain viruses like Ebola or perhaps the coronavirus, but 40% of us will probably die due to things that are preventable, like things that have to do with lifestyle, that are like, you know, heart disease, diabetes, that are completely preventable with our life choices. So if the fourth industrial revolution is a game changer, we need to play by new rules. I don't want to look into those things that I just show you as something to get us depressed or to get us, you know, but more like to wake up and to really, okay, these are the areas of innovation, these are the opportunities for us to look forward. And One of the solutions is one that, that entails kind of equity, also restoring ecosystems, and also a thriving economy. So the words to best describe a regenerative economy. A few hundred experts on sustainability from governments, from NGOs, consultants, from the industry, policymakers as well, have been asked, what is that thing that we really need to get right now in order to really thrive into the future? The conclusion is circular, and that has to do with the circular economy, a new model, a new paradigm of the economy that actually promises on bringing better for the world, right? So, but, and this is another important thing. If we look into, for example, the problem with climate change that is highly associated with emissions, 55% comes from energy. So in terms of how we develop carbon storage, carbon capture technologies, how we also move to more renewable energy and more clean sources of energy. But 45% of the equation, of the puzzle there, is not filled by just energy. It has to do with the way we set up our supply chains, the way we manufacture our products, the way we basically run the economy. And that's why the circular economy fills in that gap there in our mission towards zero emissions by 2050. But what is the circular economy?
Living systems have been around for a few billion years and will be around for many more. In the living world, there's no landfill. Instead, materials flow. One species' waste is another's food, energy is provided by the sun, things grow, then die, and nutrients return to the soil safely. And it works. Yet as humans, we've adopted a linear approach. We take, we make, and we dispose. A new phone comes out, so we ditch the old one. Our washing machine packs up, so we buy another. Each time we do this, we're eating into a finite supply of resources and often producing toxic waste. It simply can't work long term. So what can? If we accept that the living world's cyclical model works, can we change our way of thinking so that we too operate a circular economy? Let's start with the biological cycle. How can our waste build capital rather than reduce it? By rethinking and redesigning products and components, and the packaging they come in, we can create safe and compostable materials that help grow more stuff. As they say in the movies, no resources have been lost in the making of this material. So what about the washing machines, mobile phones, fridges? We know they don't biodegrade. Here, we're talking about another sort of rethink, a way to cycle valuable metals, polymers, and alloys so they maintain their quality and continue to be useful beyond the shelf life of individual products. What if the goods of today became the resources of tomorrow? It makes commercial sense. Instead of the throw away and replace culture we've become used to, we'd adopt a return and renew one, where products and components are designed to be disassembled and regenerated. One solution may be to rethink the way we view ownership. What if we never actually owned our technologies? We simply licensed them from the manufacturers. Now, let's put these two cycles together. Imagine if we could design products to come back to their makers, their technical materials being reused and their biological parts increasing agricultural value. And imagine that these products are made and transported using renewable energy. Here we have a model that builds prosperity long term. But the circular economy isn't about one manufacturer changing one product. It's about all the interconnecting companies that form our infrastructure and economy coming together. It's about energy. It's about rethinking the operating system itself.
So for you, this model may sound new, but also we understand the old milkman model, like it's also a little bit familiar. Maybe some new words, and they talk about new business models, about remanufacturing, refurbishing, challenging the way we see ownership. We need more access instead of owning things. But if we look at the implications of such a model into how our organizations are structured, how our supply chains are are designed, well, that adds a lot of complexity. We know one of the drivers of complexity in supply chain is the number of variables that you need to deal with. So if you are, let's say, a manufacturer and then, well, you build something, then you have this model that you service, so you repair it, prolong the durability of the product. Well, maybe it's not working really anymore, but you can really take it back and properly refurbish it. Otherwise, you recover all the parts, or you finally recycle it to recover like vital, valuable materials from it. They say that the biggest industry of the future in this century is going to be mining, but not the conventional mining we know, but the urban mining, those that really recover valuable materials from what is already existing there. Okay, so it all starts with design. So when we're thinking about the design of the products, of course, we're really making very important decisions for the future of the product. So whether we can dismantle it and really recover those materials, because if we create crazy hybrids, it really becomes useless at the end, and all the energy, all the value that is being put into that product goes to waste. So it's also about repurposing waste, what we call waste, how we can create wealth from waste. Waste is kind of a material without a passport, because everything that is circulating in the economy has some sort of use, but we just don't have access to what kind of use. So the implications of a model like this, of course, is about revising the business models, but also reconfiguring our supply chains and our production lines, of course. So a little bit of more of an application or a very specific example on this topic. The plastic supply chain puzzle, okay? So this is from 2 years ago. I believe this amount, it's already bigger than that. So 78 million of tons of annual production of plastic. 32% leaks into the ecosystems, into the environment. 40% goes into landfill, which is also just in a structured way putting it into the environment. 14% incineration, help us recover a little bit of energy, but incineration also has certain externalities that, well, are not good at all. 14% is collected for recycling. Only 14%, 4% of that in process losses in that process. 8% is downcycle, meaning, let's say you have a product that you used to use as a mug, and then you're going to use it as a key holder. It loses its value in terms of its utility. And then 2% only goes into the equation again of producing new plastic. So, but then we start to think, okay, so it's like, okay, what's the solution here? So now thinking about one specific use of plastic in the packaging industry, right? There are 3 possible strategies. Okay, so let's redesign the materials of what we call today plastic. So can it decompose? Can it be returning to the biosphere safely? The other one is about looping. So it's about like, okay, let's keep circulating those plastic packages or whatever we use as packaging. And the other one is about recycling, but really creating the incentives for plastic to be recovered. So something like, for example, I don't know if you guys heard about the Plastic Bank. The Plastic Bank is a non-profit global organization that is using plastic as a currency, and we will never see a land on the ocean made of, banknotes, right? And I will focus on this one, on the loop part. So this is a story of, it's called Loop Initiative. It's some sort of pilot. It's a company that brings different consumer brands together to kind of challenge a little bit of, consumer goods and reusing packaging and making sure that this plastic externality of going to waste or whatever is kind of taken care of. Of course, this adds a lot of new complexities. It has its own problems, but it's an attempt towards, for example, challenging the status quo of the packaging industry, right? So the Loop Initiative, these are the companies that are piloting the model here in Europe, for example. And as you can see, there are new challenges because there is a new heavy burden on logistics because you need to keep circulating all those containers, all those packages. So you need to also have some sort of capabilities in your supply chain to sanitize, to make it, again, safe for human use, and to, of course, reduce energy and water needs, adapt to some sort of uncertainty, like we don't know when those tolls or when those containers are going to come back from our customers, and the collection and sorting systems, of course. So just to summarize, so the type of capabilities that are needed to tackle these business models are some that you guys are already also familiar with. End-to-end visibility, you also need to be able to forecast, and you also need, well, better supply chain planning is super crucial. From one of the most cited papers on circular economy, there is this one, the digital circular economy. Can the digital transformation pave the way for resource-efficient material cycle? And this is the conclusion part of it. Creating the circular economy is an information problem. These are the three main conclusions there because of the underdeveloped availability of information, the increased transactions and search costs, meaning, let's say I need certain material, I can buy it from the mine, but I know also it can be available somewhere in the economy, but I just don't know where, so that increases my cost of searching for it. And also the misperception we have of secondary resources or things that have already been circulated in the economy, that is also one of the challenges, right? More in detail, the quality of recyclate, this is actually a new word, is often uncertain. We don't know about the quality of those input materials that can help in my process. What's the quality of it? Information about the amount, the quantities that are available. There is not a, let's say, universal or very famous marketplace for this type of, approach, and it's not transparent, so we don't know who to make the transactions with. Unclear information about the quality also, I already mentioned that. The absence of a functioning value creation between the industry and the waste management. So the orchestration on value between those that manage the waste, or the technical waste or biological waste, and the industry itself, connected, of course, to that marketplace that is really absent at the moment, as I'm saying. And the lack of knowledge about the general usability of secondary materials. So this is also a little bit of science. So how we can actually put that to use, how that can add value into our whatever business we have. And the lack of information in the externalities, meaning that not all the costs are really put in. If we think about something that we may buy, which is very cheap, comes from virgin material, the real cost is probably in the environment or socially somewhere in the upstream supply chain. All right, so this is something that it's being worked a lot on the academia. There are many companies that are really making efforts and are really investing themselves and are betting on their future in this kind of model. But the business case, McKinsey with, McKinsey with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which is the most important think tank in the circular economy, developed a study, and it represents 8.4 trillion savings by 2030 and 1.7 trillion of new business opportunities. So there is also the business case for the circular economy. If you look also at what's in the mind of the CEOs, there was a study developed by the United Nations Global Compact, along with Accenture strategy, and they surveyed more than 1,000 CEOs, big companies, also medium-sized companies, and more than 100 in-depth interviews, and kind of three conclusions. So how important sustainability issues to the future of success of your business. The dark part means important. The light yellow part means very important. And here on the outer ring, we have the over 1 billion income companies and less than 1 billion. So in general, it's very important. And if you talk to a company or to the CEO of a company like a Unilever, then you ask them like, okay, is sustainability important to you guys? No, I mean, sustainability is not something that we do aside. It's actually part of our strategy because we're managing our risk. We're increasing, of course, the brand value, but we are also, basically there is a lot of money to make in this new model. And leading companies were realizing value in sustainability nowadays and between 5 and 10 years from now in different aspects of the organization's success: brand increase, risk mitigation, cost reduction, and revenue growth. Nowadays is the light blue part, 40% for example, for Tesco, Unilever 58%, 35%, and 37%. And if we see the numbers into the future, it's even more promising. So this is something that procurement departments will have in mind for new business, and it's also very promising. And the last one, it's on what kind of technologies are really going to enable this kind of more sustainable business model. Well, digital comes to the top. And yeah, so that would be the most transformative to tackle sustainability issues. So digital is really on the top. So the way forward. So this is like the conclusion message here. It's the type of capabilities for a business model like this, are the type of capabilities that you guys are already familiar with, that you already started with your digital transformation journey. And whether you didn't start a journey, like let's say towards also a sustainability transformation or not, wherever you are there, it's also you already have some sort of the foundation in order to make that as a success. So yeah, we're talking about orchestration, the orchestration of value, the creation of value, optimization, scenarios, how I deal with different, conflicting goals in my own business, visibility, and high-class, world-class decision support. This is our organizational statement as Dassault system, as of course DELMIA Quinty be part of this big organization, harmonizing product, nature, and life. We believe that the virtual world can really help us improve the real world. And yeah, so you guys already kind of made that step in terms of having some of the digital capabilities, as I say, towards whatever your direction in this way is for your organization. So I think that's it. Thank you very much.